Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be part 2 of 3 of my Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 1 reaction and review. So first of all, a few apologies. This video is coming out a little bit later than I expected. I meant to have it out earlier this week, but obviously that didn't happen because life. Second of all, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird because I just ate a bunch of mochi ice cream and that can kind of mess up your throat. And 3, it is pretty late as of the time I'm filming this. The reason I'm filming this is because it's very quiet right now for a college dorm. So, yay! Without further ado, I'm gonna hop right in because I have a lot to talk about. And if you haven't seen or listened to, I guess, part 1 of this video, please do that before because I am building off of whatever I said in that video. And in that video, I also explained the format of my videos and how it works on this channel. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna hop right into episode 5. Okay, so this was one of my favorite episodes of this season so far. So I have a lot to say about it. Buckle in. Since we're now at the point where we're seeing a lot of different arcs across each episode, I'm going to divide up my summaries by each arc rather than exactly how the episode shows said arc because it switches back and forth several times. But episode 5 starts off right before the ending of episode 4 with Zane and Frohike fixing up the monastery. As we've seen in the last episode, Cole and the Finders arrive, and the Wolf Warriors are quickly fended off and sealed away. Zane catches Cole up on whatever Roz is doing and they end up coming to the conclusion that they need to know why the Wolf Clan is after Bonsal, who was almost captured the previous episode. This causes Bonsal to be forced to admit that she is in fact not a normal being, let's say, because she's a skeleton. She's not a human being either. So, yeah, she's like, I am not a person. I am a powerful spell that has taken the form of a living being. This was interesting because I know there were some hints about like Bonsal being more important this season than she was last season. Because when she was introduced last season, it's like, oh, fun character that is kind of associated with Cole at this point. But yeah, she's definitely much, much, much more important this season than she was last season. And I wasn't sure. I was like, are they really going to make her bigger? And if they are, how are they going to do it? So, with this knowledge, she goes into her story in an adorable form of puppetry. I loved these visuals that they used throughout this entire sequence. And she gives us this backstory on how Rontu and Egald banished the Forbidden Five. But to do that, they needed help from a very powerful sorceress who conjured a spell that is what Bonsal is now, I guess. Like, it's hard to put into words, but basically that spell was Bonsal, and that spell eventually became a being. This was, like I said before, this whole sequence was so beautifully depicted, very, very engaging. Like, you would think that all of this expedition and narration about this whole situation, it could get boring, but the way that they did it was engaging visually in a way that the narration did not become boring. And even though it was very simple, like they weren't using these crazy like flashes or fight sequences, it wasn't like epic. It was like this ancient story, like if you saw it on like a vase or a scroll, if you've been to museums and stuff like that. And it kind of gave that vibe of how long ago these events actually were. Think of it as like the Golden Masters scene that we see in Rebooted. It kind of had that vibe, but with an even more like ancient mystical style. And I thought that that was so beautiful. I liked that style more than I did compared to the Golden Masters scene. But I'm just using that as kind of and like when the Serpentine are telling that story, it kind of reminded me of a more refined version of that. We then discovered that Bonsal actually ended up meeting Wu at some point while she was still in the form of the spell, and he ended up leaving a very lasting impact on her. Honestly, this scene made me really emotional. There was something so, like, gorgeous and genuine about it, mystical yet grounded. And Wu felt like the classic Sensei Wu that he was in the earlier seasons throughout this sequence as well, which is my preferred version of Wu. I definitely preferred him in like season 1, season 2, even season like 5. But those like pilots through season 2 Wu, that is my favorite version of him, and it kind of felt like we were going back on that version of him and how he's a teacher, how he builds students or beings that he encounters up. And that's why I think it made me a little bit emotional, because it kind of like hit me like a nostalgia pang, and I was just like, oh, wait, back when we all loved Wu, because I know a lot of people like trash on him a lot, and I do have my issues with his character, but it was just nice seeing him through this light rather than him just kind of being sunken into the background like he has in some of the more recent seasons of the original show. I also loved that it touched on Wu's past with Garmadon and how the ninja brought him wholeness when they became like family after becoming his students. And yeah, I teared up while I was typing my notes on this episode as well, so don't mind me. But this ties into how Bonzel accepted Cole and the Finders as her family, because she learned like you don't have to be blood to be family. I am a strong believer of that. Like obviously I do love my blood family, but the people that I consider family are not just my blood. And so it was really beautiful how that became a full circle moment for Bonzel, because she has found a family in Cole, Geo, Spitz, and Fritz, all of whom, none of them are blood related. But they've become like a family because of everything that they went through and ending up in the land of lost things together, and they helped each other survive. And I just think that's so gorgeous. I loved that scene. I also love that Wu farther emphasizes that there is more to life than pure strength, which is what we kind of discuss in these next few episodes and maybe in the previous episode as well, which circles back to Egalt's teaching of strength isn't just pure strength. Overall, gorgeous scene. Of course, Cole and Geo, when Bonzel is done with her story, they're very touched by what she said, and of course they accept her for who she is, which I think is amazing. Zane also realizes that Bonzel is probably the key to freeing the Forbidden Five because of her being that spell. And so Cole and Zane are like, all right, we're gonna team up and protect her and find the sorceress, because they're thinking that the sorceress is gonna be the one to help that could protect or like undo or like make some enchantments, obviously. So they're like, okay, let's find this sorceress. And we get my two favorite ninja linking together for the rest of this season, pretty much. So y'all know I was hyped, because Cole and Zane, like I've said this a million times in my Ninjago videos, I love all 6 of the main like OG ninja, but Cole and Zane have always been my favorites. If you want to hear me rant about that more, check out my nostalgia trip videos. I dive into it more there. But yeah, on to the next arc, which is the larger team. For now, I'm gonna call Cole, Zane, and Bonzel the trio, and then I'm gonna call everybody else the team. So we're with the team now. Each individual is now being divided up into groups based on their skill of Spinjitzu, and they're ranked by fangs in the dragon terms, so first and second fangs. And Sora and Ryu are in the first group with Rontu because they don't know Spinjitzu yet, and everybody else is with Egalt, and they're going to be trying to refine their Spinjitzu to reach Rising Dragon technique, which I believe has been discussed at this point. Wildfire is, of course, and understandably upset because she's not able to train because of her injury, and that kind of sucks. And here it's confirmed by Rontu that her element is heat and not fire. And she also kind of, like, Rontu kind of tells her, like, how did you not know this? Like, you didn't even know that your element wasn't fire. And that like, even though she may have a lot of raw power, because she does, I mean, she can do a lot of damage when she fights, but she just has so much more to learn. Again, she's only really focused on pure strength and power, nothing else, and that is a serious problem for her because she's extremely impulsive. She's not in tune with her powers, and that's not a good thing. This is something that I really think she needed to hear, because from here on out, Wildfire slowly but surely does begin to change. I know a lot of people like her. As of this episode, I find her too arrogant, and her abilities, too arrogant in her abilities. And like I said, she's extremely impulsive, and that just makes her so annoying to watch for me. Like, she just annoys me at this point. Like, season 1 Kai, but on steroids. And even season 1 Kai had like a lot more self-awareness. Like, yes, he was a hothead. Yes, he was a little bit cocky. I mean, he still is kind of cocky in this season, but it's in a way that it works for him. And he only really was spazzing out when he saw that people were progressing faster than him. Like, the worst that we saw from him was when he was struggling to reach his full potential, because he didn't understand, like, that it wasn't about full strength, and that it wasn't just about him being the best. It was about him being the best version of him in the moment. And that's really only when he started acting out. When the whole Green Ninja thing was going down. Wildfire is on a whole nother level when it comes to this impulsiveness, hot-headedness, and I think that's why she's very frustrating to watch for me. And she's also developing a lot differently and a lot slower than Kai did, and I think that maybe be why she annoys me. But this does begin to change, starting, like, in the next episode. So I'm going to address how I feel about her character later, and several more times. So Sora and Ryu are beginning to learn the basics of Spinjitzu. Great. Sora does seem to be progressing pretty well, while Ryu is a little bit too clumsy and chunky, but still adorable nonetheless. As smart as Sora can be, she does make a really dumb comment. She's like, yeah, dragons can't, like, why would dragons need to do this? Like, dragons aren't ninja. Like, she says a lot of dumb things like this, and I'm like, honey, you're literally sitting in front of Rontu, who helped defeat the Forbidden Five. Really? And honestly, Rontu kind of drags her, because she ends up doing the most visually satisfying Spinjitzu tornado that we've seen yet, at least in my opinion, as she should. So, like, Sora, baby girl, I love you, but shush, shush. Like, you looked really dumb there, which is kind of sad, because you're supposed to be smart. But, like, I feel like everybody's IQ has, like, dropped this season. I don't know what it is. Like, her, Lloyd, Aaron, but he's always been a little bit like not airheaded, but just more like, oh, whoa, like unsure about things. But yeah, people's IQ have dropped. In EGOT session with the others, he emphasizes the importance of acknowledging that there's more to combat than solely strength. So this is kind of when he does it. He's like, motion, kindness, like he mentions all these kind of things that build on skill other than strength. And this starts a very interesting and important juxtaposition between his values and Roz's values, who is all about pure strength. And we see more of this later. It's a motif that is repeatedly touched on, and I will mention it a lot. Like I said, he specifically emphasizes motion, and he tells the group, like, okay, so be as still as possible and tell me when you've stopped moving. And again, everybody's IQ has dropped to about, what's the lowest level? Isn't it like 40 or 60 or something? It's dropped to like negative that, because they keep like saying, I am completely still, as they continue to talk and breathe. And of course, Egalt acknowledges this and eats them up, as he should. Like I said, love all of the ninja, but sometimes they be a little bit dumb, and it's kind of funny when they get checked, if I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, I enjoyed Egalt checking them very much. I'm also gonna ignore Wildfire's whole, let's say, attempt to join in on the training, because it was a little cringy. But I appreciate Rontu kind of checking her, but in like the kindest way possible. Like she could have gone off, she could have made her feel horrible. And she probably did still end up feeling horrible about this, but no, she was very like very straightforward. Like, look, I want you to train, but you have to get better to properly train. And also during that sequence, Ryu adorably makes it through the first hoop. Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, or Sora's like, you did it, Ryu, good job. We didn't see this visually though, I don't think, and that kind of bothers me. So yeah. I also love that Egalt is kind of like, while the others are training, he's like, your stunts are only making you look extra. Like Egalt is low-key like really sassy underneath like a very gruff personality. I love him. But everybody does seem to be improving except for Aaron, who clearly is struggling with controlling his spinjitzu, and he ends up knocking everybody over. And Lloyd tries to comfort him, but Eagle's like, no sugarcoating, and he notes that Aaron might have to be demoted to First Fang because, you know, sometimes you have to go back to the basics to refine before you take a next step. I appreciate that. But at the same time, this just makes Aaron feel like crap, which further signifies his arc throughout this season. So this episode, I know I talked a lot. This was my favorite episode of the season so far, so that's why I'm spending extra time on this. Roz has declared that strength is the only thing that matters in Shatterspin. Once again, we get that juxtaposition between rising dragons, focus on motion. And here's where we get the first like big glimpse of Roz and his higher up master. He's been communing with this master with the entire time. I know they're for the entire time. Wow, I cannot talk. There are theories on who this master is. I have my hunches, but it's very ambiguous. And this gives another layer to his character as well. Because as I've mentioned, so far I haven't really been engaged by any of the Dragon's Rising villains. But this kind of gave another, like, thing to think about when it comes to Roz. So I really appreciate that. He orders for 5 Cloud Kingdom monks to be selected as sacrifices for the Blood Moon ritual, and that's kind of where we end off. Like I said, fantastic episode, so engaging and packed when it comes to building this new world. Also very nostalgic in a lot of places. I love the themes that it tackled, like strength versus versatility. Everything is going to come, like this episode establishes how everything's going to come together for the remainder of this half of the season. Like I said, I think this was my favorite episode of this part, and that's why I probably talked about it for way longer than I will the next 3 episodes. So like I did for last video, I am going to insert my reactions to these episodes. As the day went on, I got a little bit more frazzled because I was running around between watching episodes, so you'll see that I reacted with much more chaos and emotion than I did in the first part, and my hair got really messed up. So don't mind that, but otherwise enjoy. I know people don't like this intro as much, but it's kind of growing on me. Nothing beats the Weekend Whip, but you're gonna eat, Ryu, go. Or maybe not, I don't know. But I believe in Ryu. Ooh, okay, no, he's not gonna eat. Okay. You said that to a dragon as you say that to a dragon, Sora. Honey, shh. Right. And you're talking. Like, dude, you're talking. Lloyd's a little slow. He's a little slow. Not me tearing up. Don't mind me. Not me crying. Okay, shh. So there's the problem. They're only relying on strength. Oh. They're both like, excuse me, what's going on? So throughout this next episode, there's a lot of focus on Aaron and how he's struggling to train, as well as Sora and how she's learning to extend herself as a ninja. Rontu encourages Sora, assuring her, like, yes, you're a beginner, but you're better than you think. Like, I've seen way worse than you. And in fact, your biggest problem is that you're thinking too hard. Makes sense. Sora is used to thinking logically and thinking very, very thoroughly through everything, but sometimes it's more about like feeling things than it is thinking through things in Ninjago. So I'm glad that they acknowledged that. I also loved seeing Kai and Mia having a little bit of sibling rivalry as they continue to train. I love that. Egalt is not very optimistic about how the training is going, and since Wildfire has been dying to get some action, she goes to talk to him. Egalt at first is just kind of like ignoring her and being edgy and gruff. But when he leaves, Wildfire takes note of a skill that he's dropped, and it's all like black and ashen, which is not good. Eren ends up losing control as he's facing off against Lloyd, and he ends up like launching a rock right into Egalt's eye, who as a result is like, okay, yeah, you're going back down to First Fang. So that really sucks. We also, I mean, like, I would assume that most people saw that coming, the way they're setting his character up for this season, but ouch. I felt really, really bad for him here. And I think that's kind of how the episode ends for them. But meanwhile, back with our trio, they're preparing for their trip to Mysterium. But because of the merge and it being so long, nobody actually knows how to get there. They do try to get a map, but of course they end up going to the extremely shady Fedulian. Just by the way, I did forget his name while I was editing some of my reactions. So if I refer to him as Shady Snake Guy, that's who I'm talking about. Of course, this also ends up being a huge waste of time since the map is inaccurate and they end up flying through a huge poison cloud, which injures Jiro the dragon. Of course, the map was a dud and they're just kind of forced to keep walking. They end up getting to this like desert and they run into a very familiar huge puppet and they get knocked out. This reveals Dorama is back and he has not only captured them but a bunch of other innocent people too. The remainder of their part of the episode is that Dorama is trying to like train everyone he's captured into being stunt workers for him, but since Bonzel is a spell, she kind of just like easily walks through the Imperium barrier he has and shuts it down while the others hold off Dorama's psycho puppet. And once they've defeated the puppet and any of the mechs that he has, they just kind of go on their way. And eventually they do find the portal to Mysterium and they cross through it and they make it to a very beautiful mystical land that seems to have an identical monastery of theirs within it. So that's very curious. This episode was more about build up and how the rest of the season is going to unfold. Like I see it as kind of a bridge episode, which is necessary and it's okay, but so far I do find this to be the least engaging episode. So yeah, it was a little bit on the weaker side for me. I still enjoyed it. It's not a bad episode at all. I just feel like the bar so far has been very, very high, and this one doesn't quite scale up for me, but it does have some great moments. I was definitely more invested with the main team than I was with the trio, which surprises me. You would think that I would like my favorites more, but obviously the main focus is on the main team, so it makes sense. But I think that's why I hold it a little bit lower than the rest of the episodes, because for the past the first 5 episodes, I was engaged. I was like focused the entire time. This one I'm kind of like, okay. But that just speaks to the quality of this season so far, to be honest. But like I said, this was a little bit of a bridge type episode from like exposition to the rest of the season, which is really the finale if you think about it. 2 more episodes and we're at the finale of the first part. But yeah. Here I'm going to insert some of my reactions, and I'm just going to warn you, if you are a Dorama fan, you're probably not going to like me very much after this segment, so apologies for that. Oh no. Oh no. Ew, no, Lloyd, don't do that. Stop. No, but sometimes you do need to take a step back to like refine your technique before going up to the next level. So, no shame in that. I mean, I know it sucks. It sucks.
Lloyd's developed an anxiety disorder. PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Lloyd, are you me? Are you me? Oh, she just decked you. God. Oh. Oh. Oh, Kai, honey, she just decked you. Holy crap. Ew. 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 You and me both, Cole. Oh, that kind of triggered my emetophobia. I knew he was working with somebody. Okay. We don't know who it is yet, but I have my hunches. It's poison. Never fly into a green cloud. Why would you do that? That's like obviously gas or some ish. Tox, where are you at? We kind of need your help now. Oh, ooh. Ooh. Poor baby. Yeah, of course she is. Ow! I just sat on my calf and now it hurts. Yeah, why would you take stuff from some shady guy? Like, that was dumb. Yeah, Zane, what do you do? Huh? Yeah, she's right. She's right. Oh. Oh, honey. Yeah, that getting hit in the eyes. Knew it. As soon as I saw the like creepy face on that thing. Ew. God, this guy's so annoying. You ruined yourself. You weren't good enough. Good. Sorry, I'm a hater. I didn't like any of the villains last season. He's like Chen, but less funny.
Okay, starting right off from the last episode, the trio are now observing the monastery that they've landed at. Cole quickly notices this crack in the wall and it resembles a noodle bowl. So he realizes, like, oh, hey, this is the same crack that I made in the wall, or that we made in the wall. I was fighting with Jay. And I know this scene is a little goofy, but I actually really loved it because it reestablishes Cole and Jay's BFF dynamic. Even though we haven't seen them together in a long time, like really they haven't seen each other in like 5 or 6 years at this point, which is sad. And so I love that it's clear that Cole still is BFFs, like in his heart is BFFs with Jay. So I was really happy to see that. We get a little moment of spirit form Wu. I know it's kind of not like confirmed to be him, but it's Paul Dobson's voice, the voice actor of Wu, in like a little spirit ball thing that they call Spark or something sometimes. So I'm just gonna call it Spirit Wu. That's what I will refer to that little sparky ball to be. So just so people don't get confused. Of course, someone ends up appearing in front of them, and it is, in fact, the sorceress that they're looking for. At first, she's just kind of like, oh, so did you bring the slugs that I was, like, looking for? But eventually she recognizes Bonzel, and the two have a very sweet reunion, which may or may not have made me emotional, but I'll leave it at that. This sorceress's name is Gondolaria. She's voiced by Queen Tabitha St. Germain, by the way. So I like automatically stan her because of that. And our trio quickly becomes a quartet. They explain, like, at least after they explain what Roz's plan is. So Gondolaria is like, okay, I got you. They prepare to head off to the wildness because that's where, like, the sorcerer's storage compartment is or something. Like, it's like one of those linked things where, like, they have a secret hideout and stuff. So they're like, okay, we have to go there so we can get what we need to keep Bonzel safe. But unfortunately, they get stopped by the ever-annoying administration agents who want to reclaim Zane and very rudely refer to him as classified equipment. and thus like property. So there's like that degrading of human versus person versus object. So that frustrated me because I am a Zane stan. But Zane manages to stall them by or negotiating through their very frustrating paperwork system. Bonzel is sent through the underground passages to, hide while they sort all of this out. Wu's little spirit form goes with her. Oh, they call it Sprite, not Spark. My bad. I'm looking at my notes right now. They call it Sprite. But Wu's ghost comes with her, and she quickly comes face to face with Jay himself. Because if we recall now, he is now Agent Walker. So I think that's kind of how the episode ends, but obviously I'm going to cover the next arc as well. So, Eren is still struggling with the fact that he just got demoted, and Sora does try to comfort him, and she's like, you're being too hard on yourself. But he, he's not hearing it. But I do kind of like this divide because in a way they are both correct. I think I mentioned this in an earlier segment, and if not, I will soon. But Eren's right. He's not improving as fast as he should be, and he has the right to be frustrated because of that. But Sora's also right about him being too hard on himself, because at the end of the day, that's just going to end up holding him back even more and keep him from progressing the way he wants to. Since they're just teenagers, I can see why, it's just very difficult for them to balance this. Guys, teenagers are dumb. I look back on it and I'm like, dang, I was not good at processing things as a teenager. And so it makes sense. But I do really like the duality of their perspectives throughout the season. I've mentioned this before. And by the end of this season, we will kind of see a little hint of this duo and how things might change in their relationship as a result. If you know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to move on. Wildfire again goes to talk to Egalt, and she tells him, the dragons that brought me up, you were a legend to them. We even named a mountain after you. But then she also kind of leads into how she knows he's suffering from this disease that has killed many dragons that she cares about, and how it probably will eventually kill him. And she offers him this big gooey green stew. But at first, Egalt's but he eventually accepts the stew. And I really, really loved this moment of bonding between these two characters. And it's a great demonstration of why Wildfire, as quirky as she is, let's say, is meaningful to this team. Her connection to the dragons in this scene is being highlighted, and I think that is the best part of her character, and it's really, really important in this case because, this is Dragons Rising. We're interacting with dragons more, so it's important for her to contribute to that. And since last season, she has grown. I mean, like I've said, up until this point, I found Wildfire extremely annoying. And while I loved her relationship with Kai, their dynamic in season 1 and in season 2, but really in season 1 was freaking amazing. But the reason I found it so amazing is because of how it highlighted Kai's development. I loved their dynamic for Kai, not for her. But this scene kind of had me warming up to her. I was like, here we go. This is what I wanted to see. She is still the same person. She's still hot-headed. She's still impulsive. She still has to grow. But this was such a more controlled and nuanced scene of her. And I was so here for it. So Wildfire hate is ending. We love this. But we also get a scene of Lloyd and Rontu discussing his visions. And at first, Lloyd kind of ignores her advice about, using the visions as a way to prepare and get an advantage and embracing them instead of trying to fight them when they come. Because Source Dragons can see alternate versions of the future, which is why he is receiving these visions. Because he's, he has a connection to them now. So he's seeing these pieces of the future that can probably eventually help him. But it's so annoying because Lloyd goes, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not, because he asks for this advice. She gives it to him, and then he's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, Lloyd, we have been through this multiple times. As a student, I understand that it's a trauma response. So that's why I'm not going in on it as much as I could. But, oh my gosh, Lloyd... Oh, honey, your mental health. But, of course, he almost immediately ends up having another vision, which snaps the group back into training. It's kind of shown that Kai is getting very, very close to achieving Rising Dragon. I'm gonna mess that up a lot, I'm sorry. He's just falling short. So as a result, Nia's like, wait, what if I do it with you? Like, even if I can't do it, maybe if I'm kind of doing it with you, you're gonna be able to do it. And we get the cutest flashback that may or may not have made me squeal like an excited goat. I guess you'll see in the reaction, but together they move through the course as they go through the forms, and Kai is able to achieve Rising Dragon, which, excites the team. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. But right as this happens, the blood moon begins to rise, and the team is like, oh crap, we're out of time. Rontu and Eagle end up turning to stone for some reason. I'm guessing this is kind of a plot device to keep the ninja team from being too overpowered, which was a little lazy and unexplained in my opinion, but it did have me pretty shaken up in the moment, so I'm not going to complain about it too much. I just thought, like, they just kind of say, like, well, it binds us now when this happens, and it's like, okay, but why? It just kind of came out of nowhere, so that's why it threw me off. But very good episode all around. I really liked meeting Candelaria and seeing that flashback with Jay and Cole, and I loved the training scenes, especially at the end with Kai and Nia and unlocking Rising Dragon right before the blood moon arrives. Great episode.
It's now lunchtime, so I will be eating my lunch, but this is episode 7, so we have 4 more to go. His lips were not synced with that, but it's exactly how they would end a fight. Oh, bear. Whoa. Whoa. See, they're both right. That's the problem. Like, he's right. He does have to get better, but he's being too hard on himself, and that's blocking his ability to get better. Oh. Stop. This is so sweet. I'm eating pizza and crying. This is how chaotic I am. Oh, Lord, honey. Every time you try to contradict someone, you end up biting yourself in the butt. It happened with the Oni thing. Hello? I don't think he lacks spirit. I think he's just too crazy. Babies! No, I'm not gonna cry. No. That's what I said. I said it's gonna be Kai versus Cinder, and I was right. Kai fans, this one's for you because I'm crying. Okay, I need to stop being emotional. Oh! Oh, I have beef with these guys. He is a person. He's not a human. Oh, you deserve to perish. But how is he a fugitive if he's not human? They don't even know their own forms, girl. Jay! So we are getting the Jay villain arc. Oh dear. Okay. Well, let's go.
So we lead off from, Rontu and Eagle turning to stone, and it's kind of uncertain whether they're going to return to normal, but the ninja are kind of like, well, we can't dwell on this because we're going to die if we don't move right now. Because with the blood moon up, the ritual could start any moment. Kai is surprisingly humble throughout this sequence, and he notes, like, yes, I did do Rising Dragon, but I haven't mastered it, because Aaron's like, you've mastered it, can you teach it to us? And he's like, no, I don't think I have, like, I've only done it once. So I really appreciated that moment of humbleness and reality, because it, like, old Kai might have been like, don't worry, I got this, but he's like, I actually don't know if I do have this. So I love to see the growth. He also is kind of like, I don't know if I can teach it to anyone else because I don't even know how I did it myself, really. Lloyd ends up getting another vision, which of course freaks him out, but he's able to kind of piece together that they have to go to the wildness, which is where the quartet is right now. But Jordana is able to track them throughout this entire thing. And Roz tells her, like, use the forbidden magic that you've begun to learn. So while the ninja are flying the bounty, they end up getting caught in a lightning storm, which, you guessed it, crashes the bounty again. Eren ends up falling off of the bounty, and Ryu leaps to grab him, and our big group gets split up into two duos and a trio for pretty much until the end of the finale. With our trio stuck on the bounty, which is Kai, Wildfire, and Sora, they're in a really, really bad position. Lloyd and Nia end up like crashing through these trees. They're fine. And Ryu manages to snag Eren and kind of like half fly. I call it gliding. He kind of just glides him to safety. So that was super adorable. I cheered for him. Our trio tries to go for Kai's mech to, get off the ship, and they do that, but the bounty ends up getting completely destroyed in the process, and Kai only just barely saves the girls from falling into the ravine. At this point, the bounty getting destroyed does not faze me. It has happened too many times for me to like take it seriously, but the dire situation is what kind of had me engaged here, because they still have to get back up the ravine without dying, so that's kind of scary. And the two duos are kind of like, well, we don't know what's gonna happen, but we should probably follow the blood moon. So they just kind of go off on in their little duos. Our quartet is now facing off against the administration. We get some fun action. We see a little bit more from Gondolaria. In theory, I thought that she would be like extremely powerful in battle due to the backstory that we've gotten. Like, they've said she's one of the most powerful sorceresses in the land. But maybe she's one of those sorceresses that's geared more towards like building spells rather than fighting, because she's not like significantly better than or worse than Cole or Zane. I'm okay with that. She has some fun moves, and she proves to be quite helpful throughout this entire sequence and in future episodes. I also like that they didn't make her incredibly OP, because that kind of would have been annoying. But Jay and Bonzel, in the meanwhile, have a really funny conversation, because Jay's like, okay, I'm gonna arrest you. Can you surrender? And she's like, no. And we get the confirmation here, like it's hard confirmed now that Jay is indeed brainwashed, but he is kind of wavering a little bit because he doesn't like his job, and he's like, I don't know why, like, and he also reveals like he still can control lightning, but he doesn't remember how or why he's able to do so. Spirit Wu kind of intervenes when Jay like goes to arrest Bonzel and shows him like an image of himself as a ninja, which of course had me super excited, and that kind of makes him waver. He's like, oh my god, like I don't know what to make of this. And the administration mechs are being subdued. We get another Zane fake out sacrifice scene because he like tries to hack the system and almost spazzes out as a result. I was again genuinely a little unfazed throughout the entire thing, just because it has happened so freaking often. Like, how many times has Zane died and come back? So like, even though he's my favorite, I was just kind of like, are they gonna kill? Oh my gosh. But of course he ends up being fine, so that's probably why in my reaction I was just kind of like, oh my gosh. But, the quartet is able to take off. Basically, they just have to put Bonzel in this, like, magical little box and wait for the blood moon to be over. But they do see the Cloud Kingdom. And they're like, okay, we gotta avoid that to get to the storehouse. And we have a little bit of a Harry Potter-esque moment where the storage house looks like all tiny and cute, but is actually huge on the inside. So that was really cool. And Gondolari's all like, you guys don't really seem to know how magic works. And it's like, no, they don't. They're all about the elements. So she searches for like the container to keep Bonzel safe, but right as she tries to seal it, Jordana takes over and captures Zane, Cole, and Gondolaria in this like Imperium cage, and now the trio is unable to save Bonzel, so that sucks. But overall, solid episode. Again, I was much more engaged when it came to the main team, but having everybody split up was very interesting to see and gave everyone their own like individual moments. So this was very good build up for what we're about to see next.
Yeah, it's gonna be Kai v Cinder. Fire versus Smoke round 2. Let's see what happens there. It is okay. That give Jay his memory back, please. Jay stands are gonna freak. Yeah! Cause it's Wu, or at least like connected to him. No, y'all are not gonna kill Zane again. No. They did not kill Zane again. Like, I'm so unfazed. That's how many times it's happened. Just, eh. Okay, I thought he, like, died or something. Uh-oh, she has powers now. I guess it's kind of like the whole Klaus thing. Like, he learned how to use dark magic, so I guess she can't. Oh, no. Yep. Oh, yeah, right. It's right. Oh my god. Okay. Whoa. And once again, the Destiny's Bounty is gonna crash. He's gliding. He's gliding. But he did say, baby, baby. I love Ryu. Never say that. Oh, no, nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope. Woo! And once again, the Destiny's Bounty is gone. There have been so many versions of the bounty at this point. It's just like, okay, well, gotta rebuild again. Ooh, Mushroom House. Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be like Harry Potter where everything's like big and magical on the inside. Ooh. Yeah, that kind of sucks for you guys. Like I said, like apparently this ends on a cliffhanger, which is to be expected because it's only the first half of the season, but...
So that will conclude part 2. I covered episodes 5 through 8 here, and next episode we'll do the finale, my overall thoughts of the season so far, and every major supporting character analysis so far. So, yeah, my final thoughts so far are, I still very much enjoy this part of the season. I do think that the first 4 episodes, or I guess the first 5 episodes, I should say, were much more consistent and engaging for me. This season did have my favorite and least favorite episode so far back to back. So that was a little bit weird of a jump, and that might be why I wavered a little bit. But I still think this season is very, very strong. We learned more about Rontu and Egald, both of whom I very much enjoy, by the way. I love both of them. I'm also starting to like Wildfire more as a character, and we get some amazing Kai moments, which has made me really regain so much appreciation for him. Like I said, I've always loved Kai. Like, I love all of the OG 6. Like, yes, I have my favorites, but I genuinely love all of them. And I would love to rant about his character more, but that would take way too much time. But I will do that in part 3. I'll try to have that up, like, by the beginning of next week, but I don't know when that's gonna happen just because my schedule is very unpredictable right now. But thank you for waiting for this video, and I hope you enjoy it regardless, and I will see y'all for part 3.